As for samatha, don't think about giving this part of the practice out just because you've done it a couple of times and not yet gained any tranquility of mind. That's still not right. You really have to do it for a long time. Why should it take a long time? Think about it. How many years have you let pass without practicing? The mind starts thinking about something over there and one rushes after it. It thinks about something over here and one rushes after it. To stop the mind and make it stay right here, to make it still, then a couple of months is not long enough. Really consider this business of practice so that you understand the mind that is at peace with events and is at peace with sensory experience. At first, when a sense object or thought arises, the mind is not peaceful. It becomes confused and agitated. Why is there confusion and agitation? Because there's craving present. We don't want it to think. We don't want it to have any sense impressions. This not wanting is a form of craving. It's vibhava tanha, craving for non-existence. The more we don't want these things, the more they seem to prevail upon us. I don't want them. Why do they come? I don't want it to be like this. Why is it like this? That's it. It's the craving for things to be in a certain way. It's there because we don't know our own mind. It's hopeless. We're constantly fooling with these things, yet it takes such an incredibly long time before we realize where we're going wrong. When you think about it, these distractions come because we tell them to come. There's craving for it not to be like that. There's craving for peace. There's craving for the mind not to be restless and agitated. It's all craving, the whole mass of it. Never mind. We just get on with our own practice. Whenever we experience a sense object or thought, contemplate it. Throw it into the three pits of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and not self. And then contemplate and ponder it. Generally, as we experience a sense object or a thought, this in turn stimulates thinking. That is thinking which follows on from the experience of that sense object. That kind of thinking and wisdom are completely different things. If it's just ordinary thinking, then it doesn't stop. Sense objects and thoughts lead us in a certain way, and our thinking just follows along. But that which is wisdom stops still and doesn't go anywhere. We become simply the receiver and knower of things. As we experience different sense objects, and these in turn gives rise to this mood or that mood, we must maintain awareness. Ultimately, all this business of thinking, worrying about and judging things is devoid of any real substance or essence. It's something that's entirely impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self. Cut it off at the base and throw it all under the headings of the three characteristics. As a result, it will just collapse. If on the next occasion we meditate it arises again, the experience repeats itself, then keep observing and checking it. The practice is similar to looking after a water buffalo. There's a buffalo, its owner, and some rice plants. The buffalo wants to eat the rice plants. It intends to make them its food. Our mind is like the buffalo. The sense objects we experience are the same as the rice plants. The mind that is the one who knows is the same as the owner of the water buffalo. The practice is really no different. Consider, what do we do when looking after a buffalo? We let it go free, but try to keep an eye on it the whole time. If it wanders near the rice plants, we shout a warning. The buffalo hears and retreats. But we can't be careless. If it's stubborn and doesn't take heed of the warning, then we have to take a stick and give it a good whack. Then it won't dare go anywhere near the rice plants. But we can't take an afternoon nap. If we can't resist taking a siesta, the rice plants will be finished for sure. This business of practice is the same. There's the one who knows, observing and looking after the mind. Those who watch over their minds will free themselves from Mara's trap. But it's puzzling. The mind is the mind, so who is it who looks after the mind? The mind is one thing, the one who knows is another. But this knowing emerges from within that very same mind. It is that ability to know the state of mind, to know what happens when it experiences sense objects and thoughts, and how to be free from sense objects and thoughts. The knowing is what the Buddha called the one who knows. The one who knows looks after the mind, giving rise to wisdom. The mind likes to think. If it meets an object, then it stops off and pays a visit. If it meets another object, it pays another visit. It's the same as that buffalo. Wherever it goes, we keep an eye on it. If it goes near the rice plants, we shout a warning. If it doesn't listen, then it gets to feel the stick. It's as simple as that. To train it, we have to give it a hard time. The mind is the same. When it contacts a sense object, it usually rushes to grab hold of it. When the mind grabs hold of things, the one who knows has to teach it. We have to contemplate whether the object is wholesome or unwholesome, and use reasoned reflection to teach the mind. When it goes and grabs something else, because it thinks that it's something worth having, the one who knows has to teach it again. It explains through reasoned reflection until eventually the mind lets go. This is the way that we can gain peace of mind. Whatever we grab onto, none of it is truly worth having. Then it stops at just that much. The mind can't be bothered because it's continually been scolded and harassed. Give it a hard time. Torment it to the very heart. This is the way we train the mind. Ever since I first began practicing in the forest, this is the way I trained myself. When I teach my disciples, I teach them in this way, because I want them to see the truth. I don't want them to see just what's in the books. I want them to see in their own minds whether they've actually cut themselves loose from their thoughts or not. When one is cut loose, one knows. As long as we have still not yet cut ourselves loose, we must use reasoned reflection to develop an understanding of the nature of these conditions. If we understand, then the mind will automatically cut loose. If anything else comes up and we become attached again, we contemplate that. If we don't cut ourselves loose from it, we cannot progress. We have to practice like this over and over again. Eventually the mind will no longer be able to get away. And this is the way I like to practice, because the Buddha taught that the wise ones know for themselves. We have to reach and find the answers within ourselves. We must know this self. If we have confidence and trust ourselves, then we feel at ease. We are at our ease even if receiving criticism and blame. We are at our ease if they praise us. Whatever they say, we remain at our ease. How is it that we can be relaxed? Because we know ourselves. If other people praise us, when actually we're unworthy of praise, are we really going to believe what they say? We don't believe them. We keep doing our practice. When people who lack self-confidence are praised, it puts them in a good mood. They become intoxicated with it. If we receive criticism from others, we look at ourselves and see. Might not be true. Maybe they say we're wrong, but in fact they're speaking incorrectly, and we aren't wrong as they say. In that case, there's no reason to be angry with them, because they're not speaking in accordance with the truth. If we're really wrong, as they say, then again there's no reason to be angry with them. If we're able to think like this, we can really feel at ease. As a result, there's nothing that's really wrong. Everything becomes Dhamma. This is the way I practice. If we practice in this way, it's truly short and direct. Even if you want to come and dispute about the theories of the Dhamma or the Abhidhamma, I won't dispute. I'll just give you reasoned reflection. We must understand once and for all. The Buddha taught that practice involves putting everything down. Putting things down with awareness, not without awareness, the way buffaloes and cows do. That way of not showing any interest is not correct. We're able to put things down because there is the understanding of conventions and concepts and the understanding of non-attachment. The Buddha taught that at first we should practice a lot, cultivate a lot, and attach a lot. That is, firmly attached to the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha. This is the way he taught. Attach with sincerity and keep attaching. It's the same as with the Buddha's teaching not to envy others. In earning a living, people should depend on their own efforts and assets. If they have cows and buffaloes, land and fields, they should earn a living from these. Hearing this teaching and having confidence in it, accordingly, people worked to the maximum limits within their own property. However, it turned out to be confusing, troublesome and difficult. It was troublesome and difficult because it was their own property. Then they went and complained, recounting their tale of woe and suffering to the Buddha, complaining that if they own anything, there must be trouble, complications and suffering as a result. Previously, they had the understanding that the complications and difficulties came as a result of competing and vying for that which belonged to other people. Then they were taught to work with that which was their own, and assumed that everything would be all right. Having done this, there still existed troubles and difficulties. So then they received a new teaching, that it has to be like this if we're still attaching and giving undue meaning to things. This is the way it is. It's the same whoever the owner is. He taught that if we touch fire in someone else's house, it's hot. If we touch fire in our own house, it's just as hot. The teaching varies depending on people's abilities to understand. Because he was teaching crazy people. That's the way they look after crazy people. When they're strong enough to take an electric shock, they give them a shock. Previously, their level of understanding was so low that they didn't catch on or understand. The Buddha used different skillful means to teach people. His own practice was finished, so he became involved with the business of our practice. Whatever the circumstances, he used all these skillful means to teach us. In my practice, I try to investigate and reflect on things as much as possible. I was able to stake my whole life on the practice because I had confidence in the teaching of the Buddha and that the path, fruition and nibbana actually exist. They exist in accordance with the Buddha's teaching, but they arise through good practice. They arise from going against the grain and being bold enough to reflect, bold enough to change, and bold enough to do the practice. What does the practice involve? The Buddha taught to make an effort to go against the tendencies of the mind. Our mind starts thinking this way, but the Buddha has it go that way. The mind starts thinking that way, he has it go this way. Why did the Buddha teach to go against the tendencies of the mind? Because it has already been exposed to and completely smothered by the defilements. It still hasn't been trained or transformed. So the Buddha taught not to believe it. The mind still isn't in harmony with that which is moral and that which is Dhamma, because it is still not pure and clear. How could we believe it? The Buddha taught not to believe it, because the mind is defiled. At first it's the servant of the defilements, but over time it transforms and becomes defilement. So he said not to believe the mind. Look at all the monastic regulations and practices. They make one go against the grain. Going against the grain involves suffering. As soon as there's suffering, we complain that the practice is too troublesome and difficult, can't do it. But the Buddha didn't think like that. He thought that if there was suffering, then it's correct. But we understand that the practice must be wrong, and that is the cause of our hardship. When we begin to practice and experience some suffering, we think that this must be the wrong way. People want to be happy. Whether it's right or wrong, they don't know. When we go against the stream of craving and defilement, there is suffering. So we stop practicing with the understanding that it is the wrong way to do it. But the Buddha explained that actually it is the right way. We've stimulated the defilements. They become heated and stirred up. But we think that it is us that has been stirred up. The Buddha said it is the defilements that become stirred up. When this is the way it is, we find the practice difficult. We don't reflect on things. Generally, we follow one of the two extremes, either that of sensual indulgence, Kamasukhalikanu yoga, or self-torture, Attakilamatanu yoga. We get stuck here. We want to follow the impulses of the mind. Whatever we like to do, we do that, following our preferences. We must be able to sit comfortably, eat comfortably. Whatever we do, we want to feel comfortable. This is sensual indulgence. We become attached to pleasant feelings, and this becomes an obstacle to progress in practice. If we aren't tending towards the extreme of comfort and indulgence in pleasant feeling, then we tend to become dissatisfied and angry with things. we suffer with a mind of aversion. This could be defined as the extreme of self-torture. It isn't the way of one who is training to be peaceful and restrained. The Buddha taught not to follow these two extreme paths of sensual indulgence and self-torture. He taught that when we experience pleasant feelings, we should note them with awareness. To indulge in anger, aversion and dissatisfaction is not to follow the path the Buddha trod. It's not the way of a samana, but that of an ordinary, unenlightened being. A samana doesn't walk that way. He walks the middle way. This is the right way to practice. Sensual indulgence veers to the left, and self-torture veers to the right. So if we take ordination in order to practice, we must follow this middle way. We don't pay too much attention to happiness and suffering. We put them aside, even though we feel like we're being kicked about by these two extremes. One moment we're struck from this side, another we're struck from that side. It's as if we're the clapper of a bell swinging back and forth and striking the bell on both sides. So in his first teaching, the Buddha talked about these two extremes, because this is where there is attachment. Sometimes we want pleasant experiences and so get kicked from this side. Other times suffering and dissatisfaction kick us from the other. It's just these two things that tease us and push us around the whole time. Travelling along the middle way, we lay aside both the pleasant feelings and the suffering. Right practice means to walk the middle way. If we experience craving for pleasant feelings, but we don't get the pleasant feelings we desire, then it's just suffering. Walking the middle way, following the Buddha, involves difficulty. There seems to be just the two extremes of good and bad. If we believe in these things, this is the way it has to be. Then if we become angry with someone, we immediately start looking for a piece of wood to bash them. There's no patience or endurance. If we're in a good mood, then we stroke and caress them from head to feet. That's right, isn't it? Always going towards these two poles. We never meet the middle at all. The Buddha didn't have us do it like that. He taught to gradually put those mental states down. This is right practice. The way out of continued becoming and birth. The way that is without becoming or birth. That is without happiness or suffering, good or bad. As human beings that are still subject to the process of becoming, when we fall into it, we either arrive at happiness on the one side, without seeing that place which is in the middle, or if we don't get things according to our satisfaction, we pass over to the other side. We're continually passing over the middle point. The place where the Buddha exists, we never see. We just keep running back and forth in this way. We don't stay at that point where there is no becoming and no birth. We don't like it, so we don't stay there. Maybe it's as if we drop down below and get bitten by the dogs of hell. Then as we climb back upwards, our heads get pecked at by the iron beaks of the vultures and crows. We fall into a never-ending hell. And becoming is like this. That which is without becoming and birth, humans don't see. The human mind fails to see it, and consequently just passes back and forth over it. The Buddha trod the middle way, the path of right practice which is free from becoming and birth. It is neither good nor bad, because it is where the mind has laid everything aside. It is the way of the samana. One who does not travel this way cannot be a samana. Peace cannot arise within. Why can one not become peaceful? Because one is still experiencing becoming and birth and death. But the middle way has no birth and death, no low or high, no happiness or suffering, no good people and no bad people. It is straight. It is the way of calm and restraint. Calm without happiness and suffering, good moods and bad moods. These are the characteristics of the practice. If our minds are like this, we're able to stop. We can stop asking questions. There's no longer any need to ask anybody. The Buddha said that the Dharma is pachatang viditapo vinyuhi, which means that it is something each individual knows clearly within himself. There's no need to ask anybody. It's just as the Buddha taught. I've mentioned briefly how I have practiced myself. I didn't have a lot of knowledge or study so much. By experimenting and investigating, I learned from the mind as it is according to nature. When liking arises, I observed it, and watch where it leads to. All it does is drag us away towards suffering. So we practice observing ourselves and gradually develop an awareness and understanding that grows by itself. But we must really determine in our hearts and minds to do it. If you sincerely wish to practice, then, especially these scholars, try not to think too much. If you start meditating with craving to get something or other, then it's better to stop. When you're sitting calmly and start thinking, is this right? Is that right? Then stop. Take all that theoretical knowledge and store it away in a box or a chest somewhere. Don't bring it up for discussion. It's not that kind of knowledge that you're aiming for. It's a completely new kind. What you experience in reality is not the same thing. For instance, when you write the word greed down on paper, it's not the same as when you experience it in the mind. It's the same when you're angry. The written word is one thing, but when it actually arises in the mind, there's no need to read anything. There's no time to read anything. You experience it right there in the mind. It's important to understand this. The written theory is correct, but it must become opanayiko. We must internalize the Dhamma. If we don't internalize it, we won't know the truth. The mind cannot see. I was the same. I didn't study so much, though I did take exams on the scriptures. I had the opportunity to hear different teachers give talks, but eventually I became heedless. I didn't really know how to listen properly. I didn't understand the way different monks who practiced meditation expressed themselves. They spoke as if they truly practiced and experienced the results for themselves. They'd really tried it out. Later on, after I'd been doing the practice for a while, I was able to know and see in accordance with what they'd been talking about and teaching. I experienced for myself in my own mind. They weren't speaking merely from the books. They spoke about that which they had realized and seen in their own minds. If we follow the same path, eventually we will meet with all that which they talked about. I concluded that this was the right way to practice. There might be other ways of practice, but just this much was enough for me, so I kept practicing in their footsteps. The practice is something we have to keep putting effort into. Doubts about how peaceful it will be are not so important. First we allow the mind to be as it is. In the beginning, the important thing is to be practicing. We are concerned with creating causes. If we do the practice, results will come in some form or another. Don't be afraid that it won't bear fruit. Even if there's not much peace, still do the practice. If we don't do it, who will gain anything? The one who seeks will see. It is the one who eats who becomes full. Each separate defilement is lying to us. If we are aware of it happening just 10 times, that's better than nothing. The same old person keeps lying about the same old things. If we are aware, then it's all right. However, it might take a long time before we become aware. Meanwhile, the defilements keep trying to delude us. We must establish moral discipline, concentration and wisdom within our minds. Reflect on the qualities of the triple gem, the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha. Give up everything else. It is our very actions which are truly giving rise to causes and results in this lifetime. Be honest, sincere, and keep practicing. When practicing, even if sitting on a chair, we can still focus attention on a meditation object. At first, we don't have to fix attention on many different things. Be attentive to the breathing, or maybe recite a mantra such as Buddho or Dhammo or Sangho, while fixing attention on the breath. When focusing attention, make a clear mental determination not to force the breath. If we become troubled because of the breath, the practice is still not correct. It might seem as if the breath is too short or too long, too gentle or too strong, or that in some way the passage of the breath isn't right, and so we don't feel at ease. But whenever we feel comfortable with the breath as it enters and leaves, and our awareness is with the in and out breaths, then it's correct. If it's not correct, we're still deluded. If we're still deluded, we must stop and re-establish attention on the breath. When meditating and there is desire to become this or that, or shining lights arise, or visions of celestial palaces, don't be afraid. Know these things for what they are. Keep meditating. Sometimes as we're practicing, it might seem that the breath has disappeared. We might become afraid because it truly seems to have vanished. There's no need to be afraid. It's only our thinking which has disappeared. The breath is still there, but the process has become very refined. When the appropriate time is reached, it will return by itself. First we practice making the mind calm. Wherever we meditate, whether sitting on a chair, in a car, on a boat, or anywhere else, when fixing attention on the meditation object, we should be able to make the mind calm straight away. If we get on a train to go somewhere, as soon as we sit down, we should be able to calm the mind. Then whatever the place, we will be able to meditate. If we develop our skill to this extent, already we will understand. We will know something of the path and can contemplate the sense objects and thoughts which we experience. Use the mind that is calm to contemplate sense objects. Sometimes it's forms, sometimes sounds, sometimes smells, sometimes tastes, sometimes tactile sensations, and sometimes thoughts and ideas that arise. As far as all our various likes and dislikes are concerned, we must be aware of them. Don't make anything out of these sense objects. If they are pleasant, be aware of that pleasantness. If they are unpleasant, be aware of the unpleasantness. These are qualities that belong to the conditioned world. Whether they are good or bad, they are entirely impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self. They are things that are uncertain, so don't attach or firmly hold on to them. This is a teaching you should keep rereading. If you can keep practicing like this, wisdom will arise by itself. All these objects are impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self. Throw them into these three pits. This is the heart of Vipassana meditation. Put everything under the heading impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self. Good, bad, worse, or whatever, throw them all in there. It won't take long, and you will begin to gain knowledge and understanding from these three characteristics. Wisdom will begin to arise in small amounts. That's what meditation is all about. Continue to put effort into it. Haven't you been developing your moral discipline for a long time already? Now is the time to start meditating in order to know the truth, to uproot and give things up so that you can be peaceful. I'm not very good at talking about the practice. It's difficult to put it into words. If anyone really wants to know, they should come and practice here together. If they stay long enough, they will come to know for sure. In the past, I've gone out to walk and live in the forest. I didn't give talks myself. I went and listened to different masters give talks. I didn't go and make them listen to me speak. Whatever they said, I listened to it. Whether they had a reputation or not, I listened. I was a listener. I didn't go in for discussion. I didn't know what to discuss. That which was important and was worth taking an interest in involved renunciation and putting things down. One practiced in order to renounce and to put things down. It wasn't necessary to study so much. Every day we get older and older, but from day to day we're only ever pouncing on rays of light. We never catch hold of the real thing. There are many styles of practice, and it's not for me to criticize them. If you understand the meaning and the purpose, none of them are necessarily wrong. However, if you are practicing but without keeping the vinaya, you won't meet with success, because it's bypassing the path, skipping over moral discipline, concentration, and wisdom. Some say, don't get attached to samatha, don't bother with samatha practice, go straight on to vipassana. From my understanding, if one passes straight on to vipassana, it won't lead to success. Don't disregard the ways and principles of practice taught by Ajahn Sao, Ajahn Man, Ajahn Tongrat, and Venerable Upali. If one practices in their footsteps, it's the truest and most certain way. One will truly see oneself. They tried to maintain their moral discipline with the utmost firmness. They didn't bypass it. There was respect for the teacher, respect for the monastery regulations and the way of practice. If the teacher instructed one to do something, one did it. If he said something was wrong and that one should stop, one stopped. It meant that one practiced sincerely and in order to see and experience the results within one's own mind. They taught in this way, and their disciples feared and respected them greatly, because it was through following in the teacher's footsteps that they came to see and understand. Try it out. If we practice, we will see and experience results. Why shouldn't we? If we're really practicing and searching, I say the defilements won't be able to stay put. That is, if we're practicing in the right way, which means being one who renounces, speaks little, is content with little, and lets go of all views and conceit, we're able to listen, both when other people are speaking incorrectly and when they're speaking correctly. We just contemplate for ourselves all that which we hear. It is possible to practice if we make an effort, but it's rare that the scholars and intellectuals actually come and practice. There's still too few of them who do. I feel a sense of regret that so many fellow Buddhists are like this. In the past, I've advised many people to come and start practicing contemplation. As for those who have come here, then that's good. They provide an important source of energy. In most of the villages around here, the monasteries are places where the study of the theory is emphasized. But they just keep studying on and on without ever cutting through defilement. It's all just santati and santi. That is, that which gives rise to continued birth. If you are able to stop the stream of defiled thinking, then you will have a basis for research and investigation, and will truly benefit from the practice. Your mind won't go anywhere. It will proceed in accordance with what you've studied. But if you study without practicing, you will never really know. Once you've practiced, you will gain profound knowledge. That theory which we have studied from the books will become clearly apparent. Studying the theory, you must learn to converse inwardly with yourself. Observe the heart and mind. The mind that has put everything down is in a state of balance. If it moves outside from that state of balance, as when different thoughts and ideas arise, that is the conditioning process. These thoughts will continue to condition the mind, so be careful and maintain awareness of them. If the mind moves out from the state of balance, then it will no longer be on the path of right practice. It will either go in the direction of sensual indulgence or else self-torture. These two tendencies concoct and condition the mind. If the conditioning is good, the mind is good. If the conditioning is bad, the mind is bad. The process takes place in the mind. If you're closely observing the mind and practicing awareness like this, it's actually entertaining. If I were to talk about just this one topic, it would be enjoyable the whole day long. Once we're aware of the movements of the mind, we're able to see these conditions. They are there because the mind has been trained by the defilements. I understand the mind as being just like one single point. Those things we call mental states are visitors, which come to stay at this point. Sometimes this person comes to visit, sometimes that person, and sometimes another person. They all come to stay at this point. All these visitors who arise out of the mind we call mental states. Thus we practice to awaken the mind and make it the one who knows. We wait and watch over the mind. Whenever a visitor approaches, we wave our hand to forbid them from coming in. Where will they sit? There's no place for them to sit down. Because there is only one seat available, and this we occupy, and try to receive any visitors that come the whole day through. This firm and stable knowing is what is meant by Buddho. By maintaining this awareness, we can look after the mind. We sit down on this one spot, where all these visitors have been coming since the time we were a small child, years ago. They all come to this same spot, so we get to know them all. We just maintain Buddho all by ourselves. These visitors proceed to fashion and concoct the mind in various ways, conditioning our experience accordingly. Those conditions of mind which have come through the action of the visitors we call mental states. Whatever they are like, wherever they will lead the mind to, is not important. We must know these visitors who come to stay. In the place where we receive visitors, there is only one chair. So when we occupy it with the one who knows, there is nowhere else to sit. They come to this spot in order to speak with us, but there's no longer anywhere to sit down. Whenever they come to visit again, they will meet that same person who is always sitting there and never leaves. How many times can the visitors endure it? All we have to do is just receive them there, and we will come to know them all. All those mental states that have come to visit since the very first time we had knowledge of the world, we know them for what they are. They're just that much. So just by watching at this one spot, we will see all the Dhamma. It's there that we speak, watch and contemplate by ourselves. This is the way I speak about the Dhamma. I don't know how to speak about it in any other way. But in the end, it's still just talking. Really, we must practice and look for ourselves. If we start to do it, there is a certain pathway we can follow that will show us where to go and what to do. We must proceed like this and like that. If this happens, we should do that and so on. If we practice some more and it doesn't work out as we expect, then we have to find a solution. We might even have to travel a long way before we find the sign which tells us the right way to go. Once we are travelling along the right path, it must be there for certain in the mind. If it isn't the right path, then inevitably some form of doubt or obstruction will arise during the practice. When there is an obstruction, we have to prod and poke right on that spot. Once we start talking on that spot, our practice will really make an impression on the mind, and we will know how to solve the problem. If we get stuck again, our teachers will be able to give advice on how to overcome problems. They know what's involved, and so we can discuss the practice with them. Consider practicing with sense objects such as sounds. There is the hearing and there is the sound. We are aware of the sound without making anything out of it. We rely on natural phenomena in contemplating the truth, until eventually the mind is able to make a separation between mind and object by itself. Speaking simply, the mind can do this because it isn't getting involved with things. When the ear hears a sound, observe the mind. Does it get bound up or carried away with the object? Is it disturbed? We can be aware of this much, and as a result can hear without being disturbed. We establish mindfulness right close at hand. We don't have to go very far away. We can't get away from that sound. It's only possible to get away from the sound through practicing. That is, through training the mind until it is firmly established with mindfulness in the present moment. And when there is sense contact, can put the object down. We still experience those sense objects which we are putting down. For example, we still hear sounds, but at the same time, as we hear them, we're putting them down. Because in fact, when there is mindfulness, such objects will have already been put down. We don't have to use force to separate our mind from the object. The separation takes place automatically. Because abandoning and putting things down with mindfulness means that even if we desire to follow that sound, the mind doesn't go after it. Once we know and are mindful of forms, sounds, smells, tastes, tangible objects and thoughts, we will see them clearly in the mind as they are according to reality. That is, all of these objects are entirely subject to the universal characteristics of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and not self. Whenever we hear a sound, it will appear in the mind in the light of the three characteristics. As sounds and other sense objects contact the mind, we will hear, but it will seem as though we don't hear. This doesn't mean that the mind is no longer functioning, but that mindfulness is present and watching over the mind at all times. If we are able to practice with our minds to this level, wherever we go, our minds will be investigating the Dhamma, which is known as Dhamma Vichayo, and is one of the essential factors of enlightenment. The mind will be constantly conversing with itself and reflecting on the Dhamma with a momentum of its own. It will be loosening and detaching itself from feelings, perceptions and memories, thoughts and sense consciousness. There will be a sense of distance between the mind and sense objects, as, undisturbed, it continues to do the work of meditation by itself. Vipassana will become automatic for the mind that is experienced in the practice. It's not something that we create or fashion. We train the mind from the beginning, and as a result it becomes experienced. One particular characteristic that will emerge is that when you sleep, having established mindfulness, you will no longer habitually snore, talk in your sleep, gnash your teeth or writhe about. All of that disappears. Even if you sleep deeply, when you awake, it will appear as if you haven't really slept, except that feeling of drowsiness will have disappeared. Before, you might have slept snoring away loudly, but if you practice so that your mind is awakened, it's not possible to snore like that. How can you snore when you don't really sleep? It's just that the body stops and rests. The mind with this level of mindfulness is awake the whole day and whole night. It's awake all the time. The mind of Buddha which is the knowing, clear and bright, doesn't sleep. It has its own energy and doesn't become sleepy. If you practice and train the mind, maybe you will be able to keep going for 2 or 3 days before you start to feel sleepy as the body becomes exhausted. Then as soon as you feel sleepy, you will be able to sit meditation and, focusing attention on your meditation object, be able to enter into a state of deep concentration for 5 or 10 minutes. When you open your eyes, you'll feel the same as if you'd slept all day and all night. As far as sleeping is concerned, if you're not constantly worrying about the state of the body, there's no problem. But you should know what amount is appropriate. Having contemplated the body and what it's been doing, then act according to its needs. Once you've reached this stage in the practice, you don't have to consciously be telling the body what to do. It tells itself. There will be a part of you that is constantly prodding and urging yourself on. Even if you feel lazy, you won't be able to remain that way because this voice will always be arousing you to practice diligently. You will reach a point where the practice will take care of itself. Try it out. I've been training for a long time. Try the training for yourself. In the beginning, physical seclusion is very important. Reflect on the teaching that physical seclusion is the cause for the arising of mental seclusion, and mental seclusion is the cause for the arising of seclusion from the defilements. But some people say it's not important, and that if the mind is peaceful you can live anywhere. That's true, but in the beginning you should see physical seclusion as the best. One day try going to stay alone in a cremation ground somewhere far from people, or else go and stay alone on some really desolate and frightening mountain peak. See if you can make the practice enjoyable the whole night long, so that you will know what it's really like. Before I used to think physical seclusion wasn't so important, but when I started practicing, then I reflected on this teaching of the Buddhas, that in the beginning we should seek out physical seclusion as a basis for the other kinds of seclusion. If you're still a householder, then when you return home from the monastery, there is confusion and complications immediately. It's because there's no physical seclusion. If you leave your house and go to a secluded place, your mind behaves quite differently. So understand that in the beginning, physical seclusion is important. Once we gain physical seclusion, we start to practice Dhamma. Once we start to practice, we need to have a teacher to give teaching and advice in areas where we still misunderstand. Because it's where we misunderstand that we think we understand correctly. If we have a teacher, we will see where we have misunderstood. Those places where teachers point out that we are wrong are those places where we thought we were correct. Our misunderstanding covers over all of our thinking. Some monks have done a lot of study and investigated the textbooks. I say try out the practice. As for opening up the textbooks, when it's time to study, we study according to the texts. When it's time to fight with the defilements, we fight outside of the conventional texts. If we try fighting according to the textbook model, we won't be able to defeat the opponents. If we truly want to practice, we have to go beyond the textbooks. This is how it is in reality. The textbooks were written to provide examples. It's even possible that by attaching to them, we could lose our mindfulness, because the writers of the textbooks are speaking from their perceptions and thoughts. They don't see that it's all just imagination. They write about journeying down into the distant depths of the earth, meeting with magic serpents. Then when they come up, they start speaking serpent language. Nobody knows what they're talking about. It's just crazy. Our teachers didn't allow us to practice like that. We imagine it would be good fun, but it isn't like that. Our teachers led the way in renunciation, rooting out our views, opinions, and conceit, practice which involved dealing with the real flesh and blood of our defilements. I say this kind of practice is difficult. Whatever happens, we can't disregard the teachers. It's impossible to become deeply deluded about the mind and the practice. It's possible to become deeply deluded about the mind and the practice of meditation. Things that normally would seem impossible may actually occur. What would we do in such an event? I myself am always careful. When I first began practicing for 2 or 3 years, I couldn't trust myself. But once I became more experienced, I began to trust more in my understanding of the ways of my own mind, then there were no problems. Whatever manifested during the course of the practice, I didn't try and resist it. If we understand the way to practice, then the things which come up become harmless and all become merely objects for contemplation. Then everything's okay. The scholars and intellectuals still haven't tried this out. You've practiced meditation before, haven't you? In the course of meditation, things that shouldn't go wrong can go wrong. For instance, maybe we're sitting in meditation and make a determination. This time I'm really going to do it for certain. Just watch and see. Nothing. That day we don't get anywhere. People like to make determinations in that way. But I've noticed that usually the practice develops according to its own set of causes and conditions. Some nights I might begin sitting meditation with the thought, right, tonight I'm not going to get up from my sitting posture until at least 1 a.m. Thinking like this, I was already in an unskillful state of mind, because in no time at all I would be besieged by feelings of pain, to the point where I felt that I was going to die. The mind sets the length of time for sitting by itself, without us having to estimate or fix standards. There's no fixed point or particular time to reach. Whether it's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, never mind. Just keep on meditating, maintaining a mind of equanimity. Don't force things. Don't be too compulsive or too fixed about things. Don't try coercing the heart with declarations of how this time you're going to really do it for certain. It's then that things become all the more uncertain. Allow the mind to relax and the breath to flow easily. Don't try to make it short or long. Don't make it anything. Allow the body to be at ease and continue to practice steadily. A voice will come up and ask, how long will you practice tonight? How many hours? It will keep coming to ask, so rebuke it. Hey you, don't interfere. So you must keep subduing it. It's just the defilements coming to bother us. Don't pay them any attention. Just say to them, whether I want to stop early or late, it's nobody's damn business. If I wish to sit meditation the whole night through, it isn't going to harm anybody. So why don't you leave me alone? Cut them off like that. Then you can continue to meditate at your own pace. By putting the mind at ease, it can thus be peaceful. And this in turn is a basis for understanding the power of our attachment and how we give undue meaning to things. As we keep sitting, it might take what seems like an incredibly long time. Maybe we sit until after midnight and half the night has passed away. But eventually we will be able to sit comfortably, indicating that we found the right way to meditate. Thus we can gain insight into how our attachment and clinging truly is defilement, and that it is there because we don't know the proper way to use the mind. Some people, when they sit down to meditate, light a stick of incense and think to themselves, I won't stop meditating until this stick of incense is completely burned down. Then they start sitting, and after only 5 minutes it seems as though a whole hour has passed. So they open their eyes and look at the stick of incense, exclaiming, oh, it's still really long. They close their eyes and sit for a while longer, then open them again to look at the stick of incense. The meditation doesn't get anywhere. Don't do meditation like that. It's like being a monkey. The mind ends up not doing any work at all. It spends all the time thinking about the incense stick, wondering whether it's finished yet or not. Meditation can be like this, so don't attach too much importance to the time. When meditating, don't let your craving and defilements know how far the incense stick has burned down or where the end is. How long will you practice? The voice of the defilements will come and ask. How much effort will you put into the practice? How late will you go? They come and try forcing us to make an agreement with them. If we say we're going to sit until 2 a.m., they'll immediately start playing havoc with us. We won't even have sat through 1 hour, and already we'll be restless and impatient to finish with the meditation. Then the hindrances will come up and say things like, oh, am I going to die or what? I said I was going to make my mind really certain, but it's not at all certain. I made a vow and couldn't keep to it. Thinking like this, we just increase our own suffering. We become self-critical and end up hating ourselves. There's no one else we can make a scapegoat for our aversion, so we suffer even more. Once we make idealistic vows and determinations, we feel that we must hold to them until we're either successful or die in the process. That way we have to keep practicing without stopping if we're to do it right. But it's not always necessary to make such determinations. Rather, we can practice gradually, but steadily, and just keep making an effort to train ourselves. Sometimes the mind will be calm and the pains in the body will subside. all that stiffness and pain in the legs will disappear by itself. So this alternative way of practice involves contemplation of all that which we experience. Whatever we do, we must contemplate it thoroughly. Don't give up the work of meditation. Some people think that when they finish the formal meditation, then it all stops and they can take a rest. So they stop practicing mindfulness and stop contemplating. Don't do it that way. Whatever we see, we contemplate. Whether we see good or bad people, rich or poor, important people, old or young people, we keep contemplating everything. This is what meditation is concerned with. Contemplating and investigating the Dhamma means that we contemplate and look at different causes and conditions. These include all the sense objects and thoughts which we experience, whether good or bad, black or white, large or small. If we're thinking, then it's just thinking, and we contemplate that it's just that much. All our sensory experience falls under the heading impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self. Don't cling or attach to it at all. This is where all sense objects meet their death. We throw them in, we see them as they truly are. For example, experiencing impermanence is something that doesn't lead us to suffering. It's something that involves contemplation. We get something good, for instance, and become happy as a result. Contemplate such happiness. Maybe we have or use that thing for a while and then begin not to like it and start wanting to give it away or sell it. If no one wants to buy it, then we want to throw it away. Why is that so? It's because of impermanence. If we can't sell or get rid of that thing, we suffer. This whole matter is no more than just that much. Once we become aware of what's involved, then however many times it happens, we see that it's the same old story repeating itself. Maybe we don't like a certain form or sound because it's unpleasant to see or hear, and we become dissatisfied. We must contemplate that dissatisfaction and make a mental note of it. Later on we might start to like it. We might come to find satisfaction in things that we previously disliked. It's possible. Once we realize and know clearly that these things are just impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self, we'll no longer create attachments to all the different things we get or experience. We will see them all as having the same value. Simply allow everything to arise as Dhamma. Today I've just been telling you what I know. When people come to see me, then I tell them. But really these are not matters to simply talk about. Go ahead and try out the practice. It's like when we ask or invite someone to go somewhere. We say, "Are you going?" And they say, "I'm going." So we say, "If you're going to go, then let's go right away." That's the way to practice. When you're sitting in meditation, if you start to see visions of heavenly beings, for instance, then before anything else, you should observe the state of your mind. Don't do away with this principle. For these things to occur, the mind has to be calm. Don't practice with the desire to have visions or not to have them. If they arise, contemplate them. Contemplate them and don't be deluded by them. Reflect that they don't belong to us, that they're impermanent, unsatisfactory and not self. When you experience them, don't allow the mind to pay too much attention to them. If they don't just disappear by themselves, establish mindfulness with the breath. Try taking longer breaths for at least 3 times, and it will cut off the vision. Then continue to re-establish mindfulness on the breathing. Don't take these things to belong to you. They're merely visions and tend to delude us into either attraction or fear. They tend to deceive the mind and are uncertain. If you have visions, you shouldn't give them undue importance. They do not belong to you, so don't rush after them. As soon as you have a vision, you should go back and look at the mind itself. Don't do away with these basic principles. If you give up on your intention to practice and rush after such visions, you might forget yourself and end up in confusion or even go crazy. Then you'll be unable to come back and converse on the same wavelength as everybody else. You will have fled the stable. The safest way is to trust and have confidence in yourself, whatever you see. If visions arise, observe the mind. It has to be calm to experience them. If you have such experiences, understand that these things are not part of us. Such visions can be useful to those with wisdom, but dangerous to those without. Keep practicing until you reach the stage where you are no longer excited by visions. If they arise, they arise. If they don't, they don't. Don't fear them. If you have confidence in yourself, there should be no problems. At first you become excited by them because they're new and interesting. and there's desire to see them. You go into a good mood and become deluded. You don't want to get caught in a good mood, but it happens, and you don't know what to do. You feel that you aren't practicing in the right way, so you suffer. If the mind wants to go into a good mood, never mind. You establish awareness of that good mood and know it as a defilement. It's not certain. You correct yourself like this. Don't try and correct it by thinking, I don't want to be in a good mood. Why is there this good mood? That's the wrong way to do it. It's going wrong right close at hand, not far away. There's no need to fear visions. I'm able to talk about meditation because I've had previous experience. However, I don't take it all on trust. You must take the words away and contemplate them for yourself. That's enough for now.